Hey, what's up everybody? This is Kyle from Valkyrie Meads, and today I'm going to be trying all these meads I got from Total Wine. I wanted to make this video today, number one, because I love to try new meads, and I kind of just wanted to spread awareness that this drink even exists. It seems like a lot of people I meet, when I tell them I make mead, they have no idea what it is, or they've had one mead and they said they didn't like it. But the thing is, there's tons of meads out there. I mean, thinking you like or don't like mead based off of one experience with mead is a bit like only having had Natty Light and saying you don't like beer. I mean, there's tons of mead out there. There's really something for everyone. So I wanted to kind of get into it. A lot of these meads I haven't tried yet, some of them I have, but let's just jump right into it and we'll pour the first one. This is Viking's Blood. We have a bunch of different meads here, different price points. This particular one was $25 at Total Wine, and I'm interested in this one because it's the one that people say they've had. If they've had a mead, it's pretty popular. A lot of people talk about it. So let's see how it is. And you know, right on the initial pour, you can see it's kind of a darker honey color, which I'm actually surprised about. For some reason, the mention of hibiscus on the label kind of led me to believe it would be like a red wine or something in that nature, or a red mead, excuse me, or something in that nature. So the next one we have here is the Camelot mead. It's really light in color. I like that. I like really light meads, really clear, really see-through. It was also $8.99, which I'm really interested in. I've never seen a mead this low. This is probably the cheapest mead I've ever seen. Which is interesting to me because I know exactly how expensive honey is. So I'm interested to see how that one tastes for sure. The next one we have here is the Rabbit's Foot Meadery Sweet Mead. That was $16. I'm not really familiar with this brand, haven't tried it yet. Don't really know anything about it. And again, that's a really nice color. It's a little bit darker than the Camelot mead. Really clean and clear looking. I mean, it's an excellent looking mead. Now, this one is particularly interesting. It's one of the more expensive meads. It was the most expensive one they had on the shelf. It's called the Golden Wine by E Divine. It was $38. Again, beautiful crystal color, really light in color. Not catching any sediments or anything floating around in there. It looks really clean, looks really good. So next up we have the Blackberry Honey Wine by Sky River. I have had their stuff before. It's pretty good. I've only had their traditional, never had any of their fruit varieties. I had one of their semi-sweets, and it's a really good quality mead. This is about $25 at Total Wine. So on the initial pour, really clear, really clean again. It doesn't seem to have any fruit residue or anything left over floating around, which you can sometimes get with the fruit meads, so that's really nice. Now this one is Chaucer's Raspberry Mead. This was actually, Chaucer's was actually the first mead I've ever tried. I had their traditional at a medieval times, and that's the first experience I had with mead. It was very good. It's also one of the cheaper meads at $10. So I've never had their raspberry or any other variations of mead, so I'm really interested to try this one as well. And I mean, that's a beautiful almost amber color from this one. Really clean, really clear. It's honestly probably one of the clearer fruit meads I've seen. Very nice, very see-through. This one is my own mead. It is the Blueberry French Toast mead. It's made with blueberries, maple, and a little bit of French vanilla and cinnamon. I have had a couple sips of this, but I've really yet to sit down and really try it, so I'm very excited to do that as well. I'm pretty happy with the way it is. It's a little bit darker than some of the meads on the table, pretty much all of them. But with what I'm working with, the homebrew, I think it's pretty clear and looks pretty good. All right, well, now that we've got them all poured out, go ahead and jump on in with this first one, Viking's Blood. It is a 19% ABV. It is the highest alcohol percentage on the table, and it's on the higher side of meads. Typically, a mead is around 10 to 14%, so 19 is fairly unusual. So that I'm interested to see how that comes out in the taste. It definitely smells really strong. It's a little bit oaky. It smells like it might have been in an oak barrel. Definitely pretty strong. Let's give it a taste. That's pretty good. It's actually a lot sweeter than I expected it to be. I've heard people talk about it and they'll say things like it's thick or kind of hearty, I guess. I'm not really getting that. It's a little syrupy, but it's really a lot better than I expected it to be. And now there's a bit of an aftertaste. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's almost like a caramel. It's very good, actually. It's a lingering sweetness. I actually really enjoyed that. So next up we have the Camelot Mead. I believe that is a 10%. Very light in color. It smells a little like they may have overused some sulfates. Sulfates are basically a preservative. They keep the mead good for a long period of time. They're also used to sterilize the mead. They're definitely a good addition, but if you overdo it, it can become present in your mead, and I'm getting a little bit of that on the smell. It smells a little sulfury. It's not bad. It's pretty good. It's a little bit on the dry side for me. I prefer pretty sweet meads. I believe that's how meads should be enjoyed. It's a little light as well. There's not a lot of body to it, but it's definitely not a bad mead. And for $8.99, it's a fantastic mead. Definitely a fine mead to give a try. If you don't want to invest a lot of money early on, it's definitely worth a pickup for $8.99. Now we have the Rabbit's Foot Sweet Mead. Let's check the ABV on that. It's 12%. Like I said, I've never heard of this brand before, so I'm excited to try it. Very nice, kind of golden color. It's really earthy. It smells a lot like honey, which is good. That's what a mead is supposed to smell like. But it's a very strong honey scent, very earthy. This is by far the driest mead we've had so far. Again, dry mead's not really my thing, but it's definitely a well put together mead. It's very clean. There's no sulfate smell or there's no sulfate taste in it like there was a little bit in the Camelot mead. It definitely tastes kind of oaky. Again, this might have been aged in an oak barrel. It's kind of subtle, so probably not maybe some oak chips or something thrown in, but there's definitely a pretty oaky aftertaste. And like I said, it's very smooth, very clean, a little bit on the dry side. So if you like drier wines, that's probably for you. Now this is the one I am pretty excited about. It's the Golden Vine by Be Divine. It was the most expensive bottle on the shelf. It's at 12.5%. So I'm really excited to see what this is like. Again, a little bit of kind of like a chemical smell, a little bit of a sulfate smell. It almost smells like like a vitamin kind of. It's a little bit sweeter than the sweet mead. I'd call it maybe a semi-sweet with a little bit more towards the dry side. It kind of tastes like a honey champagne, but again, it's very clear, it's very clean. It tastes exactly the way a mead should taste. It's just again a little too dry for me. It's great if you don't want something that's too dry and you don't want something that's too sweet. It's right in the middle, pretty decent semi-sweet mead. Then next we have the Sky River Blackberry. Like I said before, I've tried their other meads and they were very good. I like their traditional mead. Haven't had any of the other variations. It is, I think this one was $25 and it's at 15%. So right off the bat, it's got kind of a floral smell. They probably used a wildflower variety, maybe an orange blossom. It's a little floral. There's a hint of the raspberry in there, and I can definitely smell a lot of the honey as well. It's not too bad. It's again a little drier than I had expected it to be, especially being a blackberry as well, getting the additional sugars from the fruits. It's a little dry, and again, it's got a little bit of the sulfate taste. Not a huge deal. Still a very good mead. Still very drinkable. Just again a little too dry for me. I'm pretty particular. I really like very sweet meads, so I've run into that issue a lot. And the next one we have is the Chaucer's Raspberry Mead. Again, this is one of the ones on the cheaper side. It was actually the first mead I've ever tried. Their traditional honey, the first one I've ever tried, was pretty good. So I'm excited to give this a go. It's got a very odd smell. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not really sure how to describe it. Kind of sour, I guess. Just jump right into it. So there's a lot of fruit flavor in that one. I'm not getting a lot of the honey in there. It seems like they could have added more honey for more body and more of a mead taste. Right now it's more like a raspberry wine. It's got a very wine feel to it. And I mean, if you told me this was just a fruit wine, I would believe you. It's a little dry, not getting a lot of the sweetness that comes with using honey. So now we've arrived all the way to the end on my own mead. So that's interesting. I've never had to review my own mead before. It's 14% blueberry French toast mead, made with a ton of blueberries, a little bit of maple, cinnamon, and vanilla. So right when you put your nose to the glass, you get a lot of the vanilla, a lot of maple flavoring coming out at you. There's a little hint of vanilla in the background. You can kind of get the smell of honey and just a little bit of blueberry. In my opinion, it's a pretty pleasing aroma. So I had a couple sips of this yesterday and I wasn't very pleased with it. I thought it was a little dry. Like I said, I'm really into making sweet meads, and I don't know what happened between yesterday and today, but it's a lot sweeter than I remember it being. It definitely has a very good sweetness to it. I'm pretty happy with that. The body is good. You can definitely tell it's been made with honey. You can feel the thickness of that, and you get a lot of the good sweetness from the orange blossom honey. And then there's a little bit of maple in there that you can kind of taste out, but one of the biggest profiles I think is the cinnamon in it. There's a good amount of cinnamon taste, and I think it really brings everything together, and I think it's a pretty good mead. So all of the meads I tried today were pretty enjoyable. There's nothing I didn't like, because honestly I'm just a super fan of mead. All meads are good to me. Some of them weren't my taste preference, but it's always a good day to try some mead. My favorite one for sure is the Viking's Blood, which I didn't really expect to love. I had heard some things about it that were kind of off-putting to me, but it's pretty good. And at 19%, it's a lot more pleasant than I would expect it to be. It had a lot of bite, and I kind of liked that. But there was a lot of sweetness in there, and it was still a pretty enjoyable, smooth mead. Definitely a lot of interesting flavor profiles there. And then, so another thing I want to talk about is the experience of getting the mead itself. The closest Total Wine to us is about an hour away. So we drove up there, and I walked in, and you know, there's wine and beer everywhere, hundreds and thousands of different wines and beers just lining the shelves. The mead section is pretty small. It's kept over in the dessert wines, which is kind of off to the side of the building. It's kind of in the back as well. So definitely not something you would notice if you didn't know that's what you were looking for. And so as we walked over there, and there's probably about 10 different mead makers or less on the shelf, and maybe about 15 to 20 different varieties of mead, which sounds like a decent amount, but when compared to the hundreds and hundreds of bottles of wine and beer on the shelves, it felt a little lacking, and which is kind of sad to me, because mead is a fantastic drink. It's hands down the best alcoholic beverage I've ever had. I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited to try new meads, and so that's kind of the point of these videos. Is I want to show you guys what's out there, let you know what's available, try different things, and just get everyone excited about trying mead. I really think this can be a much larger thing than it is, and I really want to encourage people to get out there and just try some meads. So with that being said, that pretty much wraps it up. If there's any meads out there you'd like me to try, or if you make meads yourself and you'd like me to review them, you can send me a message, drop a comment, whatever. If you enjoyed the video, you can hit that subscribe button, and I'll be making a lot more content, showing some of my home brews, talking about mead, and just updating and regularly posting videos about mead. Thanks, guys.